Good afternoon, everybody. It is a glorious Saturday here in Wrocław, and we are live in the Olympic Stadium for more from the mixed division at EUCF 2023. Manchots taking on Deep Space. It's Benjamin Rees alongside Rachel Douglas with you in the booth, and I must say I'm excited about this one. A Manchots side that, at their best, can challenge anyone in this division.
Yeah, they had an absolutely phenomenal quarterfinal. A real banger. Obviously, they were the victors, as the spoiler alert is in the game.
What?
But if you haven't seen it yet, please do go and check that out. That game was streamed, and they had a phenomenal game against Disconnection that went to Universe and featured a big comeback. So really excited to see them match up against Deep Space, but that's not going to work on this opening play.
Yeah, just going short for Le Preux, but it's too far out in front. And the new UK national champions, Deep Space, will get a good chance to break on the game's first point, picking up just on the edge of the attacking red zone. Squires going over, shooting down the far sideline, denied by the Manchots defense, and now they're shooting way beyond everyone. I think just needed to take a breath and settle down there. Deep Space want to go quickly themselves. Kovshov, short to Squires, always airmailed this one, but it drops right in Yorworth's lap. Tries to clear Kovshov through and goes back into the backfield instead. Georgie Hill furrows the inside channel to Squires. Squires puts up a little bit of a floater towards the end. Kovshov had position, but good defense from Gwendal Dolor was able to prevent it from going to hand.
So setting the tone of the game as we're not afraid to take long shots. We're going to fight for it. We're going to take it on. Perhaps also setting the tone for what's maybe going to be a little bit of a scrappy game. Both teams just needing to tightening up, take on your long shots, but let's just make sure that you've got a viable option and you're able to deliver them. Manchots back with the disc on their end zone line. Perhaps we could just draw a line under the point to this and pretend the game's starting now.
Yeah, they will try and put those previous errors behind them. It's Manchots. Start with working it short. Obviously, after that previous deep turnover, they probably want to be a little bit more calm with things. Bonetta into the center, a little bit behind, and it scuttles through the hands of Lila Petitbon.
This movement was nice there, finding the right options. That one coming in a little bit hot, but definitely catchable, just bounces out of her fingers, and that's another turnover.
Hill to Yorworth, they set up the space there nicely. Yorworth floats the throw a little bit towards the back corner, and it's ripped away by Le Preux. Both sides have had plenty of opportunities to get it done, but every time they've had that potential scoring pass, Deep Space, they've not executed it that effectively. There was a call underneath it, but retracted, turnover stands. Perrine Le Preux will take it to the front line of the end zone for Les Manchots, which, by the way, for those of you who don't speak French, is the Penguins. Broken around to Olivier. Bonetta puts one into contested coverage and no one gets a hand on it, but that suits Deep Space fine. Both sides definitely with some errors to clean up at the start of this one. Squires strides over it. Kovshov takes off down the line. Now Sandwell clears through from the second handler spot. Trying to get the isolation, and they find Chow Yan Shou. Down the line, into Sandwell, and Deep Space with a break on the first point of the game. They take a 1-0 lead here over their French opponents. Deep Space unbeaten so far on the weekend, and a good start to sealing their first EUCF finals berth.
Well, an exceptionally messy first point with 7 turnovers before Deep Space were able to secure the break on that first opening Opening point we see there, the long disc that was just really well read and intercepted. Hill picking up, finding that inside line to Yoworth. Nice, this goes up just over their heads.
I mean, there has been some fantastic defensive plays on this point, as you saw there. This tight down that far sideline. Tien. And again, continuing to thread it through. Soundwell makes it 1-0 to Deep Space. Really been, I mean, they've been, you know, a figure towards the top end of UK Ultimate for a number of years, but finally able to make the step up and crown themselves national champions this year. Previous semi-finalist at EUCF, of course, as well. Can they go one better now and take the victory? Forget trying to pivot out wide. Doesn't see anything he likes downfield, so runs a little 1-2 with Leproux, and now he uncorks the howitzer. Couple of players in the area downfield, and it's good coverage from Rowe. The closing speed, he had the line, and just a little tap of that one to the floor to ensure the turn. Just going to try and play this one slow here, Deep Space, not going to get ahead of themselves. Gilboy from just in front of his own end zone. Fakes the little up line to Fisher. Centers to Saville instead, and now back to Gilboy. The two of them run a little 1-2. Defender Doyo is on the floor. Not quite sure what happened there.
It didn't appear to be any contact. I wonder if just as he's sort of trying to mark that quick movement from the handler space, perhaps just turned an ankle or something. We talk about ankle breaking cuts, but hopefully that's not the literal case in this instance.
Yeah, the fact that he's able to help himself up and walk off the field under his own power is a good sign for that. Going to be a substitution for Deep Space as well, with Iturmendi coming off and Axel Armela coming on. The big Dutchman Johan van der Woude is the designated replacement for Manchots. Now Gilboy with Armela on. That's a target that he wants, but Ulysse Royard has the line and steals it away. Now Leproux. Chestier. Over the top, that one. Into the hands of Forget. And some of the AstroTurf came up, so Alex Thacker, I think, very sensibly calls the violation.
Just needs to quickly relay the field, and then we're good to go.
The last thing you need is someone, you know, getting injured because they slipped over a loose piece of turf. Olivier. That is a big old pick downfield. Just going to get everyone back into position. It was a slightly frigid weather conditions this morning, cold and windy, but the sun has come out now. There was at one point rain in the forecast, but it never really materialized, much to the delight of our camera crew.
Yeah, certainly gustier though today than it was yesterday, and particularly in this stadium, it is coming a bit in fits and starts. Certainly both teams are going to need to adapt, and we saw some throws not fully tailored to the wind in the first point, but seeming to have tightened that up now.
Van der Woude tight on the sideline, tries to squeeze it in there. There's a couple of players. Olivier makes the catch, and for the score as well. So now we're tied at ones. Both sides, I think, though, would like to be more clinical than they have displayed.
Certainly, they're both coming out of quite tiring games before this, having to really put in a shift to earn their spot in this game, still trying to keep themselves in contention for the championship. But certainly there's a sort of a a little bit of trigger happiness perhaps so far in these early points. We've seen some deep shots that really haven't been kind of ideally weighted for success.
And this is that scoring shot. Olivier finds Van der Wader on the sideline, immediately takes that upline space, and, well, she has a little bit of support there as well. Not that she needs it, more than happy to do it on her own. So just under 10 minutes gone. A point apiece, but deep space with an early break. And we're seeing their O-line on the field for the first time. Ball fielded from the floor by Khan. Khan centering past to Cook. Denniston goes to ground and secures it, and now Denniston shooting deep. I think it's going to leave Itamendi a little bit short, and it does.
Yeah, that didn't come out with, I think, quite the power that was intended. That was lower and just didn't quite have the depth on it. The cut was there. I don't think it was a bad option, but the execution just didn't follow. Perhaps left a little bit too much on the floor for that phenomenal grab to keep the disc alive, and not enough in the tank in those initial moments for the throw.
Lacoste Lefebvre picks up. Pro gets it tight on that sideline, finds a little bit of separation for Bertodo. Can she get it off the line? Still count rising, but the break option unveils itself. Maxime Nijot. Now Guillaume. Manchot really trying to treasure the disc on this possession, as there is the shot deep. They get the one-on-one matchup that they like, and Yoann Doyo makes it 2-1. Manchots earn their break back.
Yeah, back on serve. Got broken on the first point, but managed to secure a break back nice and early to put them back in a comfortable position, or comfortable position, back as they started. Not currently now going to suffer as harshly on the half-time change of serve.
Of course, ULTI.TV, we've been bringing you 2 pitches all week, and the other mixed semi-final is going on at the moment between Reading and GRUT in a rematch of last year's final. So you can maybe get a little bit of split screen action, just have that one in a little window in the corner while you keep us on the main feed. You know it's the right thing to do. Here's another look at how they're able to link that score together. Just getting the play towards the break side, defenders trailing a little bit, plenty of space to sit the throw out in front, and Yoann Doyo catches that one. Of course, his brother Gwendal is on the team as well. Yoann, the younger of the two by 3 years. Itamendi has Baker through the inside. Now Itamendi's going to try that same cut, and it's going to work as well. Corcoran finds space off the back, and it is right in stride for Ruth Corcoran. First clean hold of the game for deep space. Good way to respond to being broken. And the last thing you want to do is, when you get broken, you let the heads drop, you force things a little bit, and then all of a sudden things can really spiral and snowball out of control. But that one, it's this same little cut there from the handler, centered kind of on that open side. They get the throw out nice and early to lead them, and they've got the momentum going with them towards the break side, and Itamendi can just sit that one out into space for Ruth Corcoran.
Yeah, certainly an early break bolstered deep space in the first point. A break back, as you say, can be something that can sort of take the rug out from under you a little bit, but this game is still really early, and as we said, we're just back on serve now. You kind of just got to, those two things cancel each other out, and just keep your focus and keep playing the game, and coming out and putting a really decisive hold in is an excellent way to kind of communicate that, and just make sure that opponent teams know that you're not going to get ruffled by the fact there's just one little break at the start of a game.
There is plenty of game left in this one. The trousered Forget picks up from the floor. They create that nice isolation for space underneath and into the centre, in and out of the hands of Petit Bon. Sandwell with a chance for deep space to earn that break back immediately. Yorworth, the receiver just slowed up a little bit there. Kemp just surrendered that position to the defender and lets Manchots earn it back. So leading that one towards the break side. Manchots with the pass into the gut from Petit Bon to Lepreux. Now the break side to Olivier. Looks the first option off. In the centre is Gwendal Doyle. There's a player on the floor for deep space.
I think that's deep space on deep space contact, but that's certainly going to be a pick as Phil Sandwell gets all caught up.
Yeah, Yen was the player lying prostrate on the floor. So Sandwell just engaged in discussion with Forget about how the pick occurred.
Yeah, I think he's happy to take the advice on it. They just needed to clarify where it needs to come back in. Phil seems to have a clear idea. He's directing traffic. He wants everyone exactly in the right spot, and now we're good to start again.
So Kovshov is going to check us back into play, and the high release to Forget. The two of them were absolutely not on the same page there. Sandwell short to Yorworth. Yen had a little think about the deep shot. I think it was wise to holster. Squeezes the barbecue style backhand down that four side line to Yorworth. And there is a pick. Nick Moss becoming a presence in the backfield. Yorworth again. So impressed with their performance in the women's division for Great Britain at EUC. Rakes that break across the pitch to Sandwell. The deep space captain has it in his hands once more. Into the gloved mitts of Kovshov. Kovshov wants the break all the way around to Moss. Disciplined dump swing offense here. Now putting a bit of air underneath it as Moss hits the break side. Georgie Hill in stride, and it's 3-2 deep space.
Yeah, deep space, just happy to swing it, use the space, use the whole width of the field, not trying to rush that one in. And as you say, Hannah Yorworth getting a really nice inside cross field. Looked like some of the downfield options. I think Manchots putting in a great effort to really kind of stifle those end zone cuts, but with the sort of the time and patience, we see that nice pass to Moss just sitting out into space, and then again he's able to put that arcing pass around. Hill making a great cut, and that's just with the defender behind, they're never going to have a play, and that was really well executed, and sort of the right shot to take in after taking their time, making sure it's all set up well, and not feeling too rushed, not feeling under pressure. Deep space look like they're sort of just finding their feet and flowing well.
So 3-2, deep space having just been broken, earn it right back. Game of runs so far. And that one is going to go right the way through the end zone, out of play, and that'll be a free opportunity to bring the disc in from the brick mark. Loud voice of John Fisher checks the disc in. Bonetta is not even going to get this throw off because there is a collision downfield. Fisher indicating that he needs a little bit more communication from the sideline so he can provide a more effective force. I think it's an accepted foul downfield. Resets the still count. Dished off from Bonetta to Forger. Now Olivier, travel called by Archer, but he's going to be retracted as Saville picks it off. Gilboy with a big wind up in the fake, and Saville getting it towards the break side to Thomas. Bouncing it back inside now to Fisher. Gilboy pulls out the around to Rowe. Now Archer comes underneath, attacks. Tries to fake that little shot down the line, but instead goes to Gilboy. Gilboy gives more success for deep space in that inside out, and then the little offhand simple dish from Saville to Gilboy, and deep space really growing into this one now. That is a 4-2 lead.
Once again, just working it around, finding those spaces, happy to work it in, a nice inside shot, kind of keeping it on this home sideline, keeping it in the same third, but really gaining some yards, and then just waiting to pop. The cutters, I think, very disciplined in how they're kind of keeping and holding space at the back, making sure they're not sort of getting involved and muddying some of those downfield attacking areas. We see here that inside gainer just gets it right on the end zone line and ready for a pop in, very hard to defend. And a little tender moment with the disc just to show his appreciation. A
little good luck kiss. So 4-2 deep space up on Manchot. The French Penguins taking a timeout here midway through the first half of this mixed semi-final. There are so many reasons to outfit your team in Force beyond just looking the part of a champion. Force offers professional design services with their dedicated graphics team. All apparel is produced in France. Force works with a local labour team and their raw materials are sourced in Europe. Force insists on transparency with no hidden fees and international express shipping. Look the part and play the part with Force Sportswear. EUCF mixed semi-final action live on ULTI.TV. Deep space up 4-2 on Manchots. Dreaming of a first finals berth here at Club Euros. Can they do it? It remains to be seen. As I see some other French fans in the sideline on the far side. Definitely saw some monkey jerseys from Grenoble.
Doesn't feel like there's too much in it at the moment. Deep space playing some really good fundamentals after, of course, a slightly messier first point. Manchots similarly, that the connections are nice. It's looking good. They're using the space well. They've just had a couple more miscues, giving it away to deep space in these latter points, gifting some turnovers for break opportunities. And here we'll have a cool run through D from Hannah Yorworth, but maybe perhaps a little Olivier communicating a little bit of contact
I was going to say that was a nearly a gift, because I would not throw to someone who was that closely covered by Hannah Yorworth.
Yeah, a name that if you don't know yet, you will know now by the end of this game. Really demonstrating herself and positioning herself as a formidable player in the mixed division here, but as you mentioned previously, representing GB women at Euros and putting in an absolute shift to help them get their silver medals.
So Yorworth and Olivier having the discussion here. Precisely the level of contact, when it occurred, how much of an effect it had. Obviously that's something that we can't, we can't feel from here on the sideline.
Yeah, it looked from the replay like Yorworth might have sort of just had her shoulder in front, but if there's been some jostling to get there, if they've perhaps been a little bit of contact on the approach, that is enough to justify a foul call. And they're just having a discussion, and it seems as though that's been retracted. Olivier accepting that one will stay with Deep Space, and now they have another opportunity to break.
So glorious chance to really take command here. Kovshov to Yorworth. Squires plants, takes up line. The disc is swung to Yen. Yen leaves that one a little bit low, and it's in and out of the hands of the diving receiver, who looks to be Kent.
Oh, challenging, got hands to it, but asking a bit too much.
Really, not really finding many options, but the spacing is just about correct, and it prevents Yen from getting the bid in. Manchot, Kovshov sees the opportunity for a poach that isn't quite there. Rouillard comes underneath. Yorworth sags off to prevent any easy deep options, and now gets into position as Olivier. Centers to Rouillard. Here's Bonetta, trying to float one over the top, looking for Forget, and he has position, and he rises highest to beat Squires to the point, and Manchot is back on the board.
Deep Space defense definitely kind of having those poachy looks, players trying to be quite smart about where they're positioning, often fading deep just to cover something, or coming under and putting a bit more pressure on the mark. We saw Jan at the start of that point from the Hannah space stepping out into that lane to put pressure on, and then what I was impressed with as that point progressed is how quickly they were able to recover. They knew who they were supposed to be marking, and they were able to make sure that they recovered their position when the poach was no longer necessary. But Squires just getting caught sleeping a little bit there. Having a few steps deep, and we know that's going to be a key receiver. Forget has been a big player for Manchot's side.
Well, to that effect, Forget, he shows that he does it at both ends, because he's got eight assists and 9 goals, now 10. So, it's a real pick your poison style player where, yes, you can keep him in the backfield where he can slice and dice you, or can also go deep and score on you as well. Khan catches the pull. Gordon doesn't like the spacing on that cut to Armela. Now Denniston being marked by Barontin. That is an exceptionally fun matchup to watch. Caudron gets the upline space. The throw's nailed, and now Caudron to Khan, just a few yards out. Armela puts a name on that front cone, gets the inside track, gets the flip, and it's 5-3.
Yeah, Armela holding space, using his physical stature to make sure that he's got the line to the cone, and that disc just sits out in front. There's no defensive play that can be made on that when your defender's on your back shoulder and you're kind of holding and commanding space. A small, jinky little play, but boy is it effective. And sort of again, just demonstrating Deep Space is showing a real dynamism. We saw some beautiful longer passes. That pass down that far sideline, Denniston to Cauldron, really well weighted, really nicely arced, sitting round. They played that point almost all on that far sideline, but with sort of long lead pass as well as sort of little to the gut pass for the score. So once again, it feels like Deep Space are just doing the fundamentals really, really well, and they look really strong for it.
So 5-3. The Brits leading at the moment.
At the moment being the key phrase. Manchots
yes.
went down in their quarter-final against Disconnection. They were, I can't remember the exact scoreline, 10-6 or something down, and still managed to bring it back, get themselves into a universe point situation, and secure the win. So they might be down now, but they're never out. You cannot count this team out, and Deep Space are going to have to keep fighting if they want to keep their lead or extend their lead.
You are right, it was indeed 10-6 and then an 8-3 run at the end of the game. Just about squeaked out the win.
A little bit of discussion on field. Perhaps they thought it was going to come in on the sideline, but if you signal a brick, you do have to take it from the brick mark. So that one comes in.
Travel called. And they, but somewhat belatedly, get everyone's attention.
That's really why you need the active sideline. Continuing playing when there's a call can be just absolute heartbreak for half the team.
I feel like it's not the first time that Olivier's been caught getting a little bit wayward with the disc. Trying to find the dump, doesn't like it. Tight pressure from Fisher, but not tight enough. And Boneta puts it into the pack, and Forget rises highest. The head spike to boot, 5-4. Still don't think it was necessarily the best choice of shot, but maybe when you're throwing to Forget, it is.
Yeah, a bit of a sky ball. Just about everyone on the field managed to get underneath it. So Forget once again showing his prowess in the air, positioning himself and knowing exactly when to attack that. We see that again, that comes down, and it's a melee of bodies underneath, but he's definitely one of the taller ones in that pack, and certainly able to use his sort of wingspan to get up there and get a hand to disc before anyone else has an opportunity to.
So of course the other semi-final is taking place at the same time on the other streaming pitch as well, so you can have a quick flick over if you want. But the last update we had was that it has it's got a very different feel to it than this one, because GRUT are up 9-4 on Reading.
Oof.
So unless there is a comeback in that one, GRUT looking very good for a finals berth. But of course, still plenty of game to play, both in that and in this. Cook picks up. Oh, the defender sold completely the way down the river by Khan. Guillaume was nowhere and they took advantage. Now Denniston squeaks it through. Armela wants the shot to Ray. Ray towards the back of the end zone. Does she have the room? Yes, she does. Fee Ray for 6-4.
Yeah, Fee Ray also doing a great effort there to hold space with her body. She read that well. Made sure she kind of had to attack it earlier, kept her defender behind her, and then as it just sails down gently into sort of the back end of the end zone, she's the one who's able to make a nice clean play and pluck that one down for the score.
I don't know anyone who's ever said a bad word about Fee Ray.
I don't have a bad word about her. In fact, if you check the ULTI.TV archives, you'll hear me waxing lyrical about how I think she's a phenomenal player and a phenomenal human being. So let the records show once again.
And you see there, just has the position and creates that little box at the back. So the taller defender, Bartoldo, there, it's just sealed out of the play.
A little shout out to Leila Denniston putting in some good work in the midfield. Denniston, he's been popping over to the US to play with the mixed team Exist this season and putting in a real shift there, becoming quite quickly one of their key players. And just, I think, really demonstrating that dominance in the midfield. Some of these catches and releases are so quick, but still sort of slicing up with some IO throws, making some real ground, and really opening up the field for the rest of the team.
The throw down the line for Huya. Not finding any easy options, though. Takes the reset, Lepreux. Continuing around. Lepreux getting it back from Courtoisie. Now Boneta putting a little bit of air underneath it to Huya. Doyo.
Just a bit downfield.
Of yes, a bit of a grind this point. Things not looking quite fluid, and that helps to illustrate that either the spacing's not quite right, or there's something about it that's not quite clicking at full tempo.
Yeah, the person pressure from deep space is really strong. They are right in the pocket of their players.
And there's the down the line pass. Oh, the layout to secure it is sensational. I thought for a second that she stopped because it wasn't quite going to go, but the pass went up the line and Leproux provides the goods.
Leproux put in an absolute shift in the quarterfinal, really made some huge plays. Those layout bids come as no surprise to anyone who's watched the previous game. She's really such an asset for this Manchots side, putting in a lot of kind of hero-saving efforts to keep the dream alive and to keep them in those games.
So Ulysse Roya with the assist on that one, finding Leproux for her first goal of the game. Again, one thing that's nice about this Manchots roster is that, as you mentioned, they've got a lot of players who are adept at either end. Actually, that's Leproux' first goal of the tournament. Has amassed up 4 assists though so far. Cook catches the pull, and the throw to Caudron's a bit low and she can't scoop it. Barentin picks up quick. Manchots sensed something here. Gavier. Now the high release faked out by Chestier. Barentin is double covered. The hammer's going towards the back of the end zone. The hammer's nailed towards the back of the end zone. That brings Manchots back level into the hands of Baptiste Guillon.
Yeah, it's sixes. They are still off serve. They're still 1 break down, but they're getting a critical break back to keep themselves competitive in this game. It just goes to show you cannot get caught sleeping. We've seen really great play from deep space, but a single mistake will be punished. Manchots putting it to the hammer there, making sure the miscue, the gifted turnover is absolutely exploited as much as possible, and getting a quick score on the board, bringing them back to sixes.
That is such a freebie. The throw to Caudron, it's probably lower than it should be. It should be easily into the chest, but Caudron would also be disappointed that it's a catch that she really should have made. And then Elie Chestier gonna play with a little bit of fire there, going for the hammer to the back of the end zone, but it was right on the money. Manchots clearly still in good spirits despite being a breakdown in the latter stages of this first half.
Nice deep pull from Barentin, gives the defense plenty of time to get down there.
And a zone coming out now from Manchots. Evidently they want to try and throw something different at their opponent, see how they can decipher it. Can they crack the code? Denison trying to be aggressive, taking on the break to Armela. Scuba over towards the weak side where Khan has a little bit of space. He uses the over the top to find Denison. Short into the gut of Armela. Gets it around and then gets it back. I like the way that deep space they're not rushing it here, but they are keeping stall counts low. They are moving it consistently, and Claire Baker has the freedom of the Olympic Stadium, and Axel Armour just feathers that flick into her. 7-6 to deep space. I like that Manchots tried the zone. Deep space, not really bothered by it at all.
Yeah, absolutely denied some of the zones. You put it out and you see them get a bit ruffled, trying to figure out how to come around it, but deep space didn't seem like they were put off for a second. Baker with that beautiful cut, snuck deep. No one's paying attention to her, completely unmarked. And Amala, just a beautiful flick to behold, the sort of the weighting and the sit on that and the precision. Oftentimes throwing to a completely open player can be a bit nerve-wracking, but just so well weighted, and a really creative offense from deep space. It was very simple but great throws that really just carved through and made sure that every single time they hit their receiver really, really centrally and really solidly. And
it's well worth watching on the replay. Nearly at half, up 7-6 here, deep space with a narrow lead on Manchots. Mixed semi-final action from EUCF.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member
and fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Wait. Isn't this for the other apparel? We've got like new stuff, right? Bring it in. Feast your eyes on the new fan version of our iconic ULTI.TV sweatshirts. Great fan gear available for you. Check out our new range of colors and insist on staying warm and looking fresh. Shipping is available after EUCF. Get your fan gear and be one of us.
So Manchots need the hold here to bring this semi-final to Galaxy Point. That's not the way to do it, because Amala was right in that lane and he was waiting for it. He's got it in his hands now through the assist on the previous point. He's got Yorworth in plenty of space. Gilboy faked off the up the line option. Now Amala instead for the swing into the center. Kovshov just seemed to levitate up there. Yorworth faking down the line. Amala just, 6-7 yards away from Paydar. Blading it all the way across the end zone, looking for Squires, and Squires climbs the ladder, and that is half time. Deep space up a couple of breaks, 8-6. They have looked like a team that has their sights set on the final tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like they're playing that kind of really good combination of very kind of conservative and solid fundamentals, and then every now and then there's just that pinch of spice. We can see them working that disc all the way down this home sideline. We saw some cuts go down and they're faked off because the option wasn't secure enough, and then suddenly out of nowhere this big arcing forehand comes round, and it's aimed at Max Squires on the far side, being marked by Forget, who we've seen as an absolute beast in the air so far this tournament. But you know, it's really about, he already had that separation, that throw went out into space, and Squires went up early to receive it really well. And so I just think deep space look like they're kind of really connecting, finding that nice sort of simple fundamentals, but every now and then looking for those more aggressive shots.
Yeah, not winning the height match up there, Squires, but the throw was out into space and he got up nice and early. An explosive athlete is young Max Squires. 8-6, deep space leading Manchots here in the mixed semi-final, live from the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław. Which of these teams will take their place in the final tomorrow afternoon? You'll have to wait and see.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of it. Finny, he's done it.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Have you seen our VO streams? Do you know that VO cameras are built for more tactical team sport analysis? The inbuilt tracking technology allows you to see the game in finer detail. That's why teams are already using it, and ULTI.TV and EUF are teaming up to help you join VO. Contact EUF administration to get more details.
Second half just getting underway here. The mixed semi-final at EUCF 2023. The winner of this game faces the winner of GRUT versus Reading, and you can watch that game on the other streaming pitch as well, because ULTI.TV is bringing you 2 pitches live and free all week here from Wrocław. Although that pitch isn't in the Olympic Stadium, so obviously you want to keep it here. Cordron collecting the little dish in the backfield. Deep space up a couple of breaks going into half and receiving to begin the second as well. Chance to get their first 3-point lead of the game if they can convert. Denniston beckons someone closer. That someone is Itamendi. Oh, and it somehow slips through his grip. He's usually so sure-handed, but that one just managed to weasel its way through.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looked like it sort of bounced off of his chest. It was definitely sort of in and around his hands, but somehow rebounded back out again.
And Baron Town wants to strike while the iron is hot, looking for Van der Woude, who climbs the ladder. He's not in the end zone. And then the scuba, like it's not even a semi-final, like it's a chuck around in the park. That is why he is such a useful addition to this team, the big man Johan van der Woude.
Yeah, great work from Manchots to punish the error from deep space. We've seen, you know, they've gifted some turnovers to deep space, but every time they've been gifted one back, they're really kind of putting it to use. That's a break for Manchots coming straight out of half to sort of match up with the break deep space took in the first point.
I mean, that is so important, because the last thing you want is for his team to escape away into the distance, and we know Manchots are capable of the comeback. Hell, you called it in their quarter-final, but you don't want to always have to come back if you don't have to.
Yeah, particularly the energy it takes to kind of really amp yourself up into a comeback is surely something that most teams will find unsustainable over a tournament. But deep space now just looking to make sure they have a nice calm hold and sort of reassert themselves in this second half.
It's not just the physical energy as well, but it's the mental exertion that it takes to really fire yourself up. And you only have so much to give. Baron Town with the pull again, gonna start deep space close to their own end zone. Cordron to Cook for the first pass. Cordron clearing through. Armela had a very lively first half. Itamendi still out there and still has the trust of his teammates, but that one is ripped away. It just popped at the wrong time for Cook. And it was a brilliant grab from Royard to make sure that Cook wasn't going to mop it up. This could bring us back level. That is very physical between the two of them there. And they try to squeeze that one down the sideline. Royard did remarkably to get a hand to it and try and just bat it in bounds rather than the full-on greatest.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to do so, but he's certainly putting his body on the line for his team. But
yeah, landing on that far sideline
way.
Full of water bottles. That was definitely...
This is why we have a 3-meter line.
Yeah, there's a lot of shrapnel over there that's ready to sort of impale yourself on, and he's done well to just jump back up after that. Looked very sore.
Armela has to get a move on that. Flickers a little bit low. Not a problem for Denniston though. Denniston running the 1-2 with Armela. And now Denniston putting some air underneath it. Itamendi high points it with the defender trailing. Takes the wise option of that reset available to Cook. And now Cook with a little roll curving backhand down the line. Beaten to it by Armela. And deep space wasn't clean, but they got the job done.
Yeah, Itamendi doing a really great job on that reception. to just make that readjustment. Deniston's throw, well weighted to a good streaking player streaking deep, but it did sort of have maybe that little bit too much curve on it and came up a little bit more shallow than expected. Didn't hit quite into the deep space for deep space. No pun really intended there. But he made the adjustment, right? He sort of saw that was happening, positioned himself to come under, but held that space and made sure that was, again, a safe reception. So this just feels like a really well-drilled side with deep space, really kind of knowing how to connect with each other. For Manchots, at the moment, it just seems that they're having to punch it that bit harder. The person defense from deep space, putting them under pressure and sort of having these ones that are getting a little bit forced up the sideline, perhaps on slightly higher stall counts. So we've seen from Manchots earlier in the game and earlier in the tournament that when they play their best is when they really sort of use the space and take the options early. And at the moment, deep space are being very smart about how they're trying to disrupt that and make them kind of take higher pressure options later in the stall count.
Forget has been a talisman for Manchots, not just in this game, but this weekend. Ranelagh Doyo has ditched the sunglasses. Travel called as Bonetta puts himself back into position. Floating that one around a little bit low. Not a problem for Doyo. Now Lepreux. Underneath with the defender trailing. Right onto the body of Courtoisie. And now Petit Bon. Looking for what the next option is. Forget, he just looked almost into the Titantron as if something had caught his attention and then just barged his way up line. Hammers towards the soft side, sees the space, and it just hung up a little bit too long. Olivier didn't attack and waited, and that is excellent D from Thacker. Did not give it up, charged through and knocked it to the floor.
Oh, Thacker is absolutely punishing on those. She's really fast. She knows how to use it and managed to recover that ground. Such a great read and determination and an immediate miscommunication. That one gets thrown to no one. Turned over, gifted right back to Manchots with a very short field.
Opportunity on the short field, picking up in the red zone. Saville will try and trap Bonetta on the sideline here. He's going to blade it up the line, looking for Forget. It's over the top, and Alana Archer is waiting just to make sure that there's no chance of a second effort redemption. Yorworth has a little bit of space. Wants to get it off that sideline, though, and does send it to Saville. Saville to Hill. He's got Thacker on the far side. Kovshov unveils himself in the centre. Now Kovshov, just with a little bit of touch on that one. Was Squires in bounds? He seems to think he was. Doyo agrees as well. It's another deep space goal.
I think Hannah Yorworth is the one who wasn't sure about that, but everyone else seems to have accepted it. Disappointment from Manchots, particularly as it looked as though there was a hand to that just before Squires managed to collect, but not quite enough. Deep space holding their lead. Again, just to sort of reflect, that was a hold for deep space. Oh, excuse me, the scorecard hadn't updated. That was a break.
It was indeed, and deep space putting themselves in a very good position, up 3 in the second half. There's the run through block from Thacker that earned them the turn initially. They gave it straight back, but then it was clear what the plan was. The blade down the line to Forget. He just overthrows it wildly.
Yeah, and I wonder if perhaps because we've seen such dynamic play from Manchots earlier and in the game before, again, I can't reiterate enough how it's really worth giving it a watch, where they played through sort of the whole team and the whole line, and it feels a little bit like Forget might be having to sort of pick up some of the slack here and put in a bit more of a shift. They're looking to him more and more to collect some of these higher shots and more sort of rangy looks. And that might just be a symptom of day 2 having had a number of very competitive games. But if deep space are going to continue to sort of play throughout the whole roster, it is going to keep giving them an advantage.
Saw Nikki Kovshov looking slightly bashful there on the Eurodisc Best Perspective roaming camera. It was a lovely put deep, that one. Just didn't give it at all, just took a little bit off it to make it easier to catch. Manchots Have Leproux in the centre. Leproux gets it out quickly to run that swift handler movement. Van der Werder coming over to play offense now. Slap bang on the halfway line. He wrenches it deep. There's defenders in the area. It doesn't matter. UN Doyor makes it 8-10. Bit of a trust throw, that one.
Yeah, it was. He was being marked by Archer, so although she is a force to be reckoned with, particularly in the end zone, perhaps just sort of backing his player a little bit more in that occasion. And rewarded. She was well positioned, but he just managed to get up earlier. You see that one again. Archer peeling off to support. Positioned well, but yeah, he just... Dolo comes under at that last moment to get his body in front, and Archer ends up not really having a play.
We mentioned that Johan younger of the two Doyors. Gwendal's 23 and Johan's just 20, so both have a lot of good ultimate years ahead of them. Theoretically, I don't know if I ever had any, but I assume they're still to come. Van der Werder has the disc in his hands, ready to pull. I think they're just determining the matchups they want. Van der Werder rips it. Cook has to backpedal. Good pull, pins them in the end zone. Caudron collects the first pass. And Wilson to Armela. Ray makes the deep cut, but instead it's a little floaty one for Khan to reel in, giving it quickly back to Armela. The two of them using those quick changes of direction to try and wrong foot defenders. They've actually did a lovely peel off that switch there. And the rangy Armela goes back to Khan. Happy to use this handler-driven offense for now. Cook, tight on this sideline. Takes the aggressive break. Armela, he sees that he's got space in front of him. Baker making the break side cut. It's going to float a little, but agonizingly past the force. Agonizingly behind Barontin, who beats the ground in frustration as Baker makes it 11-8.
Yeah, Barontin, it feels like that's sort of been a bit of the story of the game for her. She's so well positioned, she's down there, she's putting pressure on, but just at the last, the throw sort of peels round her and right into the lap of the deep space cutter. Interesting offense from deep space. It seemed like there was a bit of a disconnect. The cutters seemed quite deep, and we could hear in that point the sideline calling the cutters, saying you're too deep, you need to come under, you need to step closer, and really just leaving the movement to the two handlers to try and work that up for a long time in that point. But they did a great job of finding the space, and Almela putting in a shift and putting that beautiful one down the line. That ultimately Claire Baker is able to collect comfortably despite the presence of Barontin on her shoulder.
One of the great things about Ultimate is that you need to score that last point to win, so until this game is officially closed out, there's always the possibility of the comeback from Manchots. We've seen it before, we could well see it again. And there's plenty of time left in the game anyway. So there is a lot of Ultimate left. Forget, just a little finesse on that one to Petit Bon. Forget always sneaks through the grasp. Goldboy picks up. Has the free pass to Hill. Advised to go back to Ali Thomas. And I think there was just maybe a little bit of a touch, and Ali Thomas took their hands off it and their eyes off it ever so briefly, and that was enough.
Bordosi doing just enough there, staying on the dump mark, and certainly looked like she got at least a fingertip to it. Fighting to stay in this.
Reaching snag by Leproux. Short to Petit Bon. Now into the backfield. So they're struggling to create some space and separation downfield. I'm pretty sure that's going to be an accepted foul on the mark. Is indeed. Quickly accepted. Correct hand signals as well. Everyone is just going to get into position. Still over half an hour on the clock, of course. The pace at which the game has been played does feel like it's going to go all the way to 15. Forget. That's the reset to Olivier. Now short, put deep by Uendolo. And Enzo Forget is somewhat inevitable. 9-11.
Yeah, I guess if it's not fixed, not fix it. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Looking for Forget for those big ones in the end zone, looking for him if you're in doubt, if you're in trouble, if the stall count's getting higher and you can't find your reset. Enzo Forget has been the safety net for this team.
Yeah, they're giving the license to freelance a little bit to let him cook, and it seems to be working.
Mancho staying in it, 9-11. Still within striking distance. But Deep Space definitely looking like, you know, that it's going to be a hard team to get back-to-back breaks on. So even if this game just trades out from here, Deep Space have done the hard work. Mancho now going to have to put in a shift and find another gear, find some breaks back.
Easier said than done against a Deep Space offense that has generally been very clean. Only surrendered the one break so far this game. But they are not perfect. Mancho do have the break opportunity. Barantan to Trial. Has Barantan again. Pivot surveying our options. Gavier goes with the offhand to find Swan Lacoste Lefebvre. With the stall count rising, trying to float one into the centre. Armola had a hand on it cleanly. Well, I just looked around a little bit frustrated. I wondered if he might call something. That one lashed through the centre of the pitch by Cook. Slightly impetuous decision, I think, that one.
Yeah, sometimes you just sort of need to just take that extra moment. They're not in a position where they need to be gunning it. And that, you know, even if you do, unless you have someone miles deep, that didn't really seem like there was sort of a clear downfield option, and that certainly wasn't going to be the throw that would execute it.
Gavier sees one bounce off the hands of Swan Lacoste Lefebvre. Cordron is going to be designated to bring it back in. Armola takes off, but is faked. Everything else looking a bit static downfield. Denniston comes free at the front as that designated reset option. Now Cook on the far sideline. What is he brewing up? It's the little under to Cordron. Just a few yards away. Fakes once, twice. Going to make sure that it's a sure thing. As the reset to Denniston is. And Denniston to the born goal scorer, Alvaro Itamendi. 12-9, 3 in front, 3 more to win.
Yeah, nice adjustment from Deep Space, maybe being a little bit too gung-ho on some of those looks and just finding their resets until they, again, back into that mode of being patient until you have the right option. Mancho, again, you know, it's flowing and it looks nice, but just a few sort of miscues. We saw that high disco up towards the end zone, and it sort of just felt perhaps a little bit early. Didn't seem that deep in the stall count for sort of the panic throw to go out and that kind of giving a turnover. And then later on, we just see that a drop, really. And I wonder if that again is they've had such close games up to this point in the tournament. You know, they've had all of their losses have been within 3 or 4 points, within 3 points. And they just had that sudden death win this morning, and I wonder if that's a question of kind of when your energy is low, can you also keep your focus? It's a really big task, and perhaps these sort of drops and challenges that Manchots are feeling that little bit more than Deep Space are at the moment. Although we are seeing mistakes from the Deep Space side, just a couple of miscommunications and throwaways, but it just seems to be a bit more wearing on Manchots.
To that end, it was the first point where Deep Space's O-line has turned it over more than once, but both times they were able to get it back, either through that block or just through, as you mentioned, the Manchots error. Doesn't seem to be the most amount of synergy between what's going on downfield and what's going on in the handling set. The timing is a little bit off. But they're happy to work it through the backfield as Lepreux. As Boneta clear out, and Olivier was the reset, but Thacker ran through.
Thacker, who just recently won gold with Jolly Rogers on beach. Those run-through Ds being an absolute asset to that side. At the national championships in the UK, of course.
You proud of that one?
Very proud.
Thought you might be. Squires down the line for Yorworth. Again, the quick twitch reactions you see from Squires as he clears through. Yorworth using the lefty for that different angle around the mark, and then Fisher to Squires. That'll be his third goal of the game. 13-9, another Deep Space break. They can almost taste that final tomorrow.
Yeah, they're definitely, they've got their eyes spinning final. They want it. They've worked so hard to get here, and they sort of feel like they're on the doorstep now, but there's still a job to do. They have to close this game out, and they have to do it strongly. Fisher with such a nice throw. We sort of see, I think more so today, you see two players who are sort of maybe a bit tired, a bit trying to push things a little bit hard and not setting themselves when they're trying to take on some of those ambitious shots. But Fisher, I think, just demonstrating there exactly how it's done. He got low, attacked that, got low, made sure his center of gravity was really well positioned before he puts that sort of around. Not sure if it was an actual break, but it certainly looked like it, as a pinpoint into the corner of the end zone for Squires to collect. We can see that again now. Yorworth passes it down to Fisher. Yeah, just sets out really wide, but just puts exactly the right weighting on that. And I think he was able to do that because physically had really made sure he had a very strong base.
So Deep Space, only 2 points away from the win here. Do Manchots have another comeback within them? If they do, they need to find it fast. Deep Space pulling up 13-9 here. Mixed semi-final live from the Olympic Stadium in Wrocław. Manchots, well, they had to come back from 4 points down in the second half in the quarter-final against Disconnection. Can they do it again against Deep Space? It's, I mean, they say lightning doesn't strike twice, but we know that's apocryphal and that it does. Will it strike the Olympic Stadium? Fisher just rubbing a little bit of rubber crumb off his hands, maybe trying to get himself a little bit more traction on that disc. It's the pull. Works his way deep, fielded just shy of the end zone. Forget being marked by Sandwell. Van der Wilder. Forget takes off deep. We know how often they like it. Yen actually done a really good job against a much taller defender, because she got in a position that screened him off, and that allowed Sandwell to come through and get the block. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's teamwork if I ever saw it. Yeah, and just holding space, not letting the position be sought, and definitely celebrating, getting hyped up by her team as she goes downfield.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fisher just going to give the disc a little bit of a wipe as he walks it to the front line of the end zone. Got to go the full 70 in order to get the break. Samuel has Moss clear out. Fisher struggling to get free against tight coverage, but a nice inside to find the reset to Archer. And now Rowe towards the far side. Fisher doesn't cut towards that space. He wants to clear it for a teammate. That teammate is Yen. Rowe trying to power his way up line, and it is snatched back by Ulysse Moya. I've been so impressed with his effort in this game. Forget playing through the backfield. Little 1-2 to Olivier. Olivier to Van der Waarde. Forget taking off once more, but Van der Waarde had already made his mind to go into the centre for the reset. Olivier sees a pass, bounce off the hands of Courtoisie. Second break opportunity at this point for deep space.
Yeah, Manchot doing all the right things, but again, just an execution error on the catch is going to gift it to deep space. Are they able to get the break this time?
Beautiful cut from Lee. Gave herself acres of space. Now Sandwell out in front. To Moss. Deep space just keeping things ticking. The little dish up the line. Forget tries to get a hand to disrupt it, but can't do so. Yen. What's the next option? Is it Sandwell in the backfield? He clears through. Rolls the reset around to Moss. Shows the break slide continuation before putting it away. Rouillard again committed, but doesn't get there, and it just sneaks through the hands of Lee, inches away from the end zone. Calls from the sidelines of FM, so that's a forced middle for the uninitiated at home. Trying to busy the middle of the field and prevent the Hucks from going up, because they have shown Manchot of recent times that they want to go to that option, and they take the swing into the centre, where Forget takes the immediate timeout just inside his own end zone. What have they got left in the locker? What are they going to get coming off this timeout? That remains to be seen. Here's the first turnover of the point. Yen just holding a position, holding a line, allowing Sandwell to go up and get the block. Rouillard so quick across the ground, and those lightning quick hands as well. But Manchot surrendered it back off the Courtoisie drop. Rouillard again. I mean, he will go for absolutely everything that he thinks he can, I was going to say reasonably have a shot at, sometimes even unreasonably, and unfortunately it is the letterbox of doom from Lee. She just created that little window and the disc zipped right through it. Deep space breaking their huddle. One of the disadvantages of taking the timeout midpoint is that obviously the defense can set around you. So while obviously generally you like to get a set play as an offense, as a defense you can look at how they're set up and think, oh, interesting, it seems like you've got a clear isolation for someone in the center. Well, actually we can bring someone over to bracket, or maybe we'll come out in a zone so that we're not quite going to set up how we want, and let you to get out, let you get that play that you cooked up ready to go.
Yeah, I think it is I mean, if they're able to kind of not suffer from the turnout curse, which often happens, as you say, the kind of the setup can rather than be enabling, can be a bit stifling, particularly when your defense is able to get set too. But I think it was a good strategic move from Manchots in the sense that this is really an important moment for them. If they want to sort of stay here, they're 4 points down. They really need to be converting and just to have a moment to refocus and bring their team together.
There's a split spat look for Manchots. Deep space use their female matching players to crowd the centre of the field. It forces the pass wide, and Sandwell takes a tumble and picks himself back up to his feet. Yen's going to check in the disc. Olivier sneaks it through to Forget. Samuel just spins himself around on the mark so he can get a good look at what's going on downfield. As Forget goes to Van der Woude. Nick Moss given the unenviable matchup there. Forget, as there is a collision downfield and a foul called by Chao Yen. Everyone seems ready to go. 15 minutes until the time cap comes on. Strongly expect that we'll be going to 15 at this point. That one, oh my word. Big collision, actually between Van der Woude and Courtoisie. First things first, everyone's okay. Lee and Van der Woude still engaged in discussion.
No, but like, okay, so I'm running in my lines very long. And he's going into me, so I'm expecting that to be soft.
I feel like at this point, the most likely result is the contestant sent back. But again, players still want to have the discussion.
Yeah, there's a very sort of challenging nuance to the rules around when you see a player and you sort of pull out of a play, or, you know, it's often kind of around the idea of dangerous play, but dangerous plays that never happen. Of course, we don't want to have to make contact in the sport for the sort of the point to be made. So there are provisions within the rules to sort of protect everyone. If you say, I pulled out because otherwise, you know, I know there would have been contact, but X, Y, Z. There is supposed to be some sort of flexibility for that, but it's really, really challenging to really execute that well. And I think, as you say, after a prolonged discussion, that one going back seems like the right choice, just to resolve it as cleanly as possible.
Yeah, if no one's entirely sure, contest is sometimes the wisest result. Forget comes into the backfield. You see the sun just peeking through the gaps in the stadium on the far side. Forget looking for the high release. I think the edge is going to take that away from Olivier and out of bounds.
Yeah, I don't know if that maybe is a symptom of having to put in so much effort at the back. Those guys were just running sprints, passing it, and immediately taking off at an angle and kind of getting the blood flowing and getting excited. But that just really seemed like they needed to cherish that offense, and they'd put so much work in to get it up the field. That didn't feel like the right option. It felt forced. The execution wasn't there. So that's disappointing for Manchots to have that opportunity to get the disc back for a score and to sort of gift it back to them.
Fisher's quite isolated, and the still count must be getting high. He just knifes it across the pitch to Rowe, who makes a very good catch. I think somewhat inevitably there is a stall out called. Everyone belatedly realizes about what, 5-10 seconds after the disc went?
Yeah.
He definitely felt like he had it for a while. He did not have an awful lot of help, and that explains why he put the creative knife over the top.
Yeah, it also might explain why it was such a creative knife. It needed to come out of his hands quickly rather than kind of setting up for a big scuba or a hammer. That one just comes out as quickly as possible, very aggressively, and that was well received. But
the other semi-final over on pitch 1 has wrapped up, by the way. And the final score is Reading 10, GRUT 15. So the reigning champions, the Dutch Tyros, await the winners in the final. Good catch by Archer, coming back towards the disc. Sandwell to Moss. Fisher charges deep, but deep space again. They want to make sure it's the sure thing. So, to Sandwell up line. Now Lee, just, and I mean just past the bidding petit bon. You can't fault the commitment from Manchots, even if it's not quite worked out. It's got to be Fisher's disc, and it is. The Penguins looking a little leggy now. Yen trying to squeeze one in there. Archer with the long right arm reels it in. Deep space are 1 away from the finals. It's happening, Rachel. It seems to be happening for deep space anyway. This is a real test of the nerves, I think, for both sides. Obviously for Manchots, you've had a big comeback. Can you find another one? And for deep space, you know, they've made European semi-finals before, but not made it out the other side. This would be their best ever result, regardless of what happens tomorrow. Can they keep calm, keep their composure, take that deep breath, and seal their Sunday spot?
yeah, so far they've done a phenomenal job of doing that, and really it feels a lot like, apart from a few hiccups here and there, they've really played their own game and focused on controlling what they can control and delivering what they came here to deliver, what they've trained. I don't know sort of how to really sort of put it into words, except if you had to sort of think about the vibe of each side, it feels like deep space have just been in it. You know, they've been focused, they're competitive, it feels like they're up, they're lifting each other up. Manchots definitely have had that intensity, but if it was a competition of vibes, I think deep space have had it most consistently throughout and just seem like a bit of a force, both in terms of how they're attacking this as a team and just energy levels more generally.
I feel like they've just been a little bit looser on the sideline as well. I think part of that is getting off to that start with the early break, as it just does calm the nerves and you can maybe enjoy the experience a little bit more. It's a European semi-final, you know, this is why you play it. Obviously, the stakes are high, but I feel generally teams play their best when they're enjoying themselves out there. Petit bon. The first part of Manchots' task, get the hold on offense. That's not going to do it. Barontin shooting deep, and Max Squires continues a strong day with a strong block. Deep space with the disc. And a finals berth on the line. Yorworth faking the backhand, going to it at the second time, lofting one up for Saville. Saville with a big pump fake. I think some of his teammates on the sideline thought that was going. Big layout grab there from Saville. Now Squires, tight on the far sideline. Squires uncorks it, Hill's the target. Can Hill get there in time? Not quite. In the end, it just floats and fades out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, bit too much on that one. They're sort of midway at the middle of the field, and that was a huck for your own end zone line, or maybe the brick mark at the most. That really had a lot of sauce on it, and that one will go right out the back. You see again that excellent save, and Hill streaking deep, doing everything to get down there, but that was not going to be something that could be collected.
Manchot coming back in. In the centre. Pop to Yoen Doyle. The huck is low and flat, and Gilboy read it and intercepted it. Now they're running the gauntlet, a little bit of give-go as far as they can. I love that from deep space. Travel called though. Saville gets back into position, and Barontan comes so close so many times. That time, she finally gets the block that her pressure has earned.
Yeah, it's been building and building throughout this whole game, and finally gets that block on the stat sheet. And at crunch time, you know, it's important. If she doesn't, then that could have been the game. So some clutch work.
Doyle with Squires in his pocket. A little bit of a cluttering in the backfield. There is the pick. Well chased down, got to make sure. But Bertado will have to return this.
She looks a little bit reluctant, but it's going to have to go.
Eight yards out then. Barontin turns, just pops the reset over the defender. Looking towards the front cone, there's another pick which I think is going to send it back once more. This lack of rhythm can be frustrating. It does test your composure and test your mettle. Contested call is going to send it back to the thrower. Just trying to get a spy of who that is on the far sideline. Maybe Chestier. There was scarcely any room for the upline, but they found it to Bonetta. He is, however, right on the end zone line. Not in just yet. Barontin. Oh, Squires flashed across to try and get the block. Nice shake of hands all round, and Barontin with the double happiness. Well, Manchot have got the hold they needed. Now, can they get the break train rolling?
Yeah, great to see Barontin being rewarded, putting in tireless efforts throughout this game, throughout that point, getting the block that ultimately gets them to that scoreline, and then securing it under not an insignificant amount of pressure, both from Hermark and from Squires. But Barontin unflustered.
Unflustered, unfazed, and rewarded for her pressure, her patience, and her focus. 14-10. Deep Space will have 5 shots at the win. They are the heavy, heavy favourites, but the longer it takes, the harder it gets.
Yeah, sometimes having the simple task, you just have to put in one offensive hold. That's all you need to do.
I can't say I've been in a similar situation in my playing career, but I know that you have, and is it about just telling yourself it's just like any other point?
Yeah, it's really about not letting this feel any different from any of the other points, and just doing what you do and continuing to do it well.
And what Denniston does is throw the delicious inside breaks. That one to Itamendi is obscene! Wow! Itamendi, I think, gets a little bit of a bump on the mark afterwards as well. And he's going to have to take an injury sub. That is heroic, fully Superman style with the catch.
So it is about keeping calm, but it's also maybe sometimes about doing that.
about just doing cool stuff.
Just putting in a heroic effort and making sure you do whatever you can to keep your possession.
I mean, you do it on any other point, so do it now as well. Swung right the way round to Armela. Armela back to Wilson. Looking for a little bit of throw and go motion. Armela up the line. Force did a very good job of just sagging into that lane there, Nijo, to prevent that final scoring pass going. And there is a pick. You're within the 5-yard line now. Steel yourself, test your mettle for glory. Baker goes up line, still rising. Wilson with the hammer into coverage, and Armela skies the pack. And Deep Space, we will see you on finals day tomorrow.
Fitting end to that game. Armela cleaning up on the stat sheet, getting 2 blocks, 4 assists, and that being his 3rd goal. Really such a critical player for Deep Space, and really stewarding the disc around the back all the way through that game. Very fitting end to what was ultimately quite a dominant performance from Deep Space. Manchot, really, it felt like they had a lot of those parts that needed to come together, and just every now and then it just disrupted slightly, giving Deep Space too many opportunities. But a really, really great effort from that side. And as I said, all of their games have been super tight. This one, you know, this is the biggest margin they've lost by, so that's really a testament. They've taken a couple of losses, but they've really kept their head down and kept grinding these ones out, and they should be really proud. And they're in the top 4, regardless of what happens. They're in the top 4.
Yeah, they will have to pick themselves up for the bronze medal match tomorrow. They will take on another UK side in Reading. But for Deep Space, they have the glory of finals day ahead of them. They will take on the powerhouses in their last dance in the mixed division, for now at least, GRUT. And that is a tantalizing, mouth-watering matchup, Rachel. And I cannot wait already. But before we think about finals day, there is still one more round of games to come here today in Wrocław, as we have a look at the match stats powered by our friends at Force Sportswear. Deep Space would probably wanted to convert it on more of those break opportunities, but they created so many, 17 of them. That D-line was doing work out there, Doug.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be disappointed with that conversion rate. They're a team that are always pushing for more and to be better and to be cleaner, as I'm sure you could say of any of the teams at the top of this mixed division. But that's something they'll definitely seek to work on. And of course, now they have all of this beautiful footage they can go back and take a look at. But winning the semi-final in a fairly decisive way, 15-10, a 5-point comfortable lead is a really great bolster for this team, as they are now going to go on and take on one of the big powerhouses of Ultimate in Europe. GRUT have just proven themselves time and time again over the past few years. And as you say, it's perhaps going to be the last time we see them as a mixed outfit for a while, and they're going to be gunning for it. You know they are. They always are. So Deep Space are really going to have to make sure they are switched on and ready to go.
I think even more than Europe now, GRUT just a powerhouse of World Ultimate. One more game to come on each of the streaming fields today as we move into the semi-finals for the women's and open divisions. We will have open semi-final matchup for you in the Olympic Stadium. Mooncatches versus La Fotta. What a game that is. The other open semi-final is Clapham taking on Gentle, while in the women's division, Yaka versus Shouter, one half of the draw, on the other half Jinx taking on the surprise of the semi-finalists, Troubles Warsaw, but they are not to be taken lightly, because at their best, they can absolutely go and win this division. As you're having a little look at some of the highlights from this game. If you've been enjoying ULTI.TV's coverage of EUCF this long weekend live from Wrocław, then you know what to do. Here come the calls to action. Like, subscribe, make sure you get notifications whenever we go live, as we will for a few more games this weekend, and of course in the future, not the last event of the season, because we've still got the European Masters Ultimate Championships coming up in a couple of weeks in Bologna as well. And if you want to make sure that ULTI.TV can cover as many tournaments and as many games with as many cameras as possible, you know what to do. Patreon.com/ULTI.TV is the place to be to help fund us. And you get a little bit of bonus content like our in-depth EUCF previews as well, to make it worth your while. And hopefully we will see you over there. In the meantime, before we head on to the open semi-finals, on behalf of all of our ULTI.TV crew and the immaculate Rachel Douglas next to me, Benjamin Rees. We will see you on the other side, and we will see Deep Space in the mixed final.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.